What's up, everybody? Welcome to Diamond Owl Studios, the #1 place in the whole galaxy for music reactions. I'm your host, Paper Chase.
And it's the one and only Diamond Don Juan. We are back with another reaction just for you.
Just kidding. Today we are reacting to Kenny Rodgers, right?
Correct.
Coward of the County. I bet this song rings true to you because everybody calls you a coward. Kind of like a running joke around the studio that we all call him
Courage, the cowardly
the
dog.
coward. No, we just call you the coward.
Yeah, how did I earn that nickname? Because I lost in Gay Chicken.
Yeah,
because he wanted to play gay Chicken, and I swerved at the last second, and now I'm the coward.
What a good rebuttal, dude. But yeah, today we're listening to Kenny Rodgers. I've never heard this song. I don't think I've ever heard Kenny Rodgers at all.
What?
Except that song we were just singing.
Yeah, but you don't really know it. You're really somewhat familiar with it.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'll be honest with you. That's The Gambler is the only real song that I know. And I feel like it was on like a TV or show or something back in the 80s. I just remember being a kid and loving that song and like singing it and thinking it was so cool. But that's really all I know from Kenny Rodgers. Maybe I think he did a duet with Dolly Parton.
Dolly Farton.
Don't you dare be
I don't
smirch.
know what's going on.
Her name, her good name.
I love Dolly Parton. Actually, she's one of my favorites. But
so, anyways, the point is, we don't know a lot of Kenny Rodgers. I've never heard this song. He's never heard this song. Let's get into it.
yeah, and if you've made it this far, hit the like and subscribe, and hey, buckle your seatbelt, folks.
Everyone considered him the coward of the county. He had never stood one single time to prove the county wrong. His mama named him Tommy, but folks just called him Yellow. Something always told me they were reading Tommy wrong.
Come on, Tommy.
He was only 10 years old when his daddy died in prison. I looked after Tommy 'cause he was my brother's son. I still recall the final words my brother said to Tommy. Son, my life is over, but yours has just begun. Promise me, son, not to do the things I've done. Walk away from trouble if you can. It won't mean you're weak if you turn the other cheek. I hope you're old enough to understand. Son, you don't have to fight to be a man.
Okay.
There's some...
This song is fire, dude. Thanks for pulling this one up today, boy. I love the storytelling. I love the message behind it. This is beautifully crafted.
Yeah, and I mean, we still have a lot of the song to go. I'm just curious where it's going to go. But yes, the storytelling already is just immaculate. You know, his father died in prison. They labeled him a coward. And it seems that he's just taking his father's advice and saying, you know, it's not worth it.
Taking the high road.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
He doesn't have to do dumb stuff to prove that he's a man, man.
Exactly.
That's just like a lesson I feel like every young man needs to listen to. Because I know you and I know me, when we were young, we were wilding out.
Bro, I went to jail when I was 16 over some dumb shit.
I went to juvie when I was 13 from freaking 2 felonies. And, you know, it's like...
Yeah, and it was exactly because of this. Because of just like some ego stuff where, you know, I just got put into a situation. These kids robbed me and I felt like I had to get some get backs. And
it was hip hop, man.
Well, maybe that was it. Maybe that was it.
But, you know,
but at the end of the day, it's like I literally, you know, went to jail because I didn't follow these words, because I just let something that should have been, you know, something that I let slide that wasn't worth it, you know, turn into this big event.
Yeah, man. The amount of times I got in trouble just because, from the ego, not being able to turn your other cheek and like looking back, hindsight, and being like, wow, you know, that was so dumb, you know. And I see it happen all the time. Like, we just had a big event in Denver yesterday, like, you know, the opening weekend of baseball, which just brings floods and crowds of people. And the amount of like dumb fights I saw on social media the next day
Yeah.
of just people getting rocked and arrested and just like for probably something that was so silly and simple where they could have just turned around, went the other way, and now the course of their life is completely changed.
Yeah.
Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah, I'm going to get into it a little bit more at the end of the song, but I want to hear where it goes.
One for everyone, and Tommy's love was Becky. In her arms, he didn't have to prove he was a man. One day while he was working, the Gatlin boys came calling. They took turns at Becky, and there was 3 of them. Tommy opened up the door and saw his Becky crying. The torn dress, the shattered look was more than he could stand. He reached above the fireplace and took down his daddy's picture. As his tears fell on his daddy's face, he heard these words again. Promise me, son, not to do the things I've done. Walk away from trouble if you can. Now it won't mean you're weak if you turn the other cheek. I hope you're old enough to understand. Son, you don't have to fight to be a man. The Gatlin boys just laughed at him when he walked into the bar room. One of them got up and met him halfway across the floor. When Tommy turned around, they said, "Hey, look, old Yellow's leaving." But you could have heard a pin drop when Tommy stopped and locked the door.
Oh, shit.
20 years of crawling was bottled up inside him. He wasn't holding nothing back, he let them have it all. When Tommy left the bar room, not a Gatlin boy was standing. He said, "This one's for Becky," as he watched the last one fall. And I heard him say, "I promised your dad not to do the things you've done. I'll walk away from trouble when I can. Now please don't think I'm weak, I didn't turn the other cheek. And Papa, I sure hope you understand. Sometimes you gotta fight when you're a man." Everyone considered him the coward of the county.
Oh, wow. What a song.
Dude, absolutely incredible.
What a song, dude. That might be one of the best we've reacted to in a while.
Yeah, absolutely. I was thinking the same thing. It's definitely going to go down as one of my favorite reactions that we've done because the storytelling is just, immaculate. So good. Such a good message behind it. You need to walk away when you can.
But sometimes you got to stand up.
Yeah.
What I always teach my kids, this is what I always teach my kid, and I think this is one of those debates that like every parent has, different things of, and I'm raising a little girl, so it's obviously a little bit different, but, I always tell her, like, if somebody calls you names and they talk bad about you and they make you feel bad or they say anything like hurtful things to you, just ignore it. Let it roll off of you because you're like, why would you let that person's like stupid words and insecurities bring you down? But if somebody lays a hand on you, if somebody hits you, if somebody pushes you, you fight back immediately. Like you don't let anybody cause you any physical violence. That's what I always teach her, and she's a little girl, so it's different for sure. But like that's how I've always done it. And like, I agree with this whole song. Like turn the other cheek when you can, like as often as you can. But when something like that happens,
it's your family, then it changes everything. Yeah. Like when it's your family and your loved ones, there's some things that are worth fighting for. I think everybody knows that, but a lot of people don't stand up when it's time to stand up. And then there's people who stand up when they should sit down. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's just the reality of it. Like I was saying, I was 16 and it was over $40 worth of weed. I was selling weed. These dudes stole, they robbed me. They like strong armed me, them and a couple of their friends. And I caught one of them later. I ended up going to jail over something so stupid. Mm-hmm. But a lot of it in retrospect, not a lot of it. I mean, absolutely, it was just ego. That's what it was. More than anything, you know, it's this ego. I can't let people push me around. I lost months of my life, really years of my life, when you think about like probation and all this stuff and how it ended up impacting my life like further than that. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you know, I think me and you probably we're pretty similar when we were young, you know. I mean, I was always like, I feel like I was like, I don't know, I want to say almost like overcompensating for like, you know, trying so hard to be like this badass, you know. And I would get in fights all the time, like over stupid stuff. I would go out like looking just for trouble constantly, and like it ruined like my whole younger years, you know. I mean, and it was one of those things, like I didn't really have any role models to teach me otherwise. All my role models that I was hanging around with, like older kids, were like pieces of shit that nowadays are probably in prison and stuff. And you know, I think this is a great lesson for any young person, is, you know, exactly, like turn the other cheek. Don't make the mistakes that people are making around you, because it really can alter the course of your life, you know. And
yeah, that's my story almost to a T, because, you know, we came, like we weren't like poor. It was just a working class family. So I didn't have, you know, my dad wasn't around. Like both of my grandfathers, like one was like a severe alcoholic. I never met him. The other one died before I ever got a chance to meet him. So I really just didn't have any male role models. And then for the most part in our neighborhood, I've thought about this before, because I'm just like, damn, like it wasn't like we were in a bad neighborhood, but we were just up to no good. Like, you know, from like 12 years old, there was like kids like stealing cars and shit. Just like, there wasn't a reason to. It's not like, again, like we didn't grow up in a bad neighborhood, but there just wasn't male role models. We had like one dad in the neighborhood, and, you know, he worked, but he would like teach us like boxing and do like dad shit that you would expect, you know, a dad to do. And his kid like turned out all right, you know, but for the rest of us, most of us like had absentee fathers, or they were just working all the time. So they weren't really present in anybody's life. And then we had a couple older kids that had, you know, gone to jail and were already in like the juvenile, you know, detention and that whole world. And so they kind of like brought us up and taught us all the shit. Like when I was young, like 10 or 11 years old, they were like, hey, you know, you guys want to make some extra money? And we're like, yeah, sure. What do we do? And then they'd take us out and they'd be like, okay, we're going to break into this garage. And it's like already happening. It's not like we agreed to do it. Yeah, but then I'm like looking at my friends and, oh, come on, don't be a pussy. Like, you know, I'm like, I don't think we should be doing this. Don't be a little fucking bitch. And then next thing it's like, I guess we're just like breaking into houses now. You know, this is what we're doing. And it's
part of that's like being a kid, though, especially when you don't have a bunch of good things going on around you. It's like I used to do stuff like that to a T too. And it was like fun.
It was
like
fun.
That was like so fun to me. It was like doing shitty things. Like,
let me just be clear. Like, I don't want to sit here and act like I'm a victim, because it is exciting. Like in the moment, it's exciting. And then we started making money. The point is like without those like role models in your life to like guide you, I think a lot of young men go down that path. When you have people that are like, hey, let's go do this, because we don't have anything else going on in our lives, and you start heading down that way.
100%. I was in this when I was on probation of, you know, 7 years ago or something ago, I was in a class for community service. It was like the fatherhood program, you know, because my girl was pregnant at the time, and they were giving us all these crazy statistics about like people without fathers, like
it's like something like
the incarceration rate
is like
like
70 times more likely to go to like jail. I mean, it's insane.
The current incarceration like rate, so like it's like something like 78% or something insane
that's what it is.
Of the people incarcerated grew up without fathers.
Yep.
That's like, that statistic came out. When I heard that, I'm like, holy shit. Like it is so, and moms are obviously important too, but like, you know, not having like, obviously, you know, like, but not having fathers figure around, like it really does create this sense of, I don't know, because it's, you know, that's kind of how it goes. Like moms punish and, you know, whatever. I'm not going to get into the whole dynamics of parental, but, you know, parental figures, but it is true. Like having a dad around to guide you in different ways and stuff.
Yeah, your like likelihood of having a felony, of going to jail, of ending up like on drugs, it's like dramatically increased if you don't have a stable like father figure in the household. So yeah, that's just like, goes without saying. But a lot of people, I think, they don't realize like how detrimental it is and like what the stats are. And yeah, like I said, I mean, I had, one of my good friends like got shot in the face, ended up going to prison and then getting like addicted to crack. That was like my best friend that I grew up with when I was a kid, literally from diapers, and no father figure in the household. Had another one of my good friends from that neighborhood who ended up like getting addicted to meth, like really, really bad. Like, yeah, it's messed up. Those other kids like that I was telling you about, whereas it was his older brother that taught us like how to break into houses and do all this stuff. Like, yeah, his whole family, they all ended up going to jail. It was just like,
and
terrible.
There's so many dynamics too that go into it. Cause I mean, it was crazy. I remember growing up and I had a couple people like this kid, I'm not even gonna say his name, but he was fairly older than me, like 5 or 6 years older than me.
Yeah.
And I would hang out with him and this group of people all the time. And he was probably the worst of the worst. Like he got, addicted to heroin when he was like 17 years old, 16 years old, bad. Like we were robbing people, it was bad, like, and he had a perfect family. Like his family was like rich.
Yeah, that's always weird.
It was always weird. And his brothers, well, it's funny because he had 2 older brothers. One was a cop and then the other one was like in prison. And I remember we picked him up from prison and he was like,
we had one of those too. This is when I got older and I kind of went into like a different friend group. But I will just say this because I don't want to put him on blast. And this will probably give away too much information. We'll just say that his dad was a doctor, like a sports doctor for one of the sports teams, like prominent, sports teams. And he was just absolutely out of control, like on meth. Yeah.
It's weird. That just goes along a lot too. Like the environment you're with and, I mean, it's impossible. Some parents, you can do everything right and your kid still gets introduced to the wrong person.
Yeah.
And it's like, boom, and that's why, my daughter, like she's still to the age, obviously, where all of her friends that she hangs out with, like outside of school or whatever, like I know personally.
Yeah.
But like, as they get older, it's like, you really got to watch who they surround themselves with. Cause my parents thought that the people I was hanging out with, at least my mom thought the people I was hanging out with were like good people. And then they were not good people, like at all, and
yeah.
And I don't know, maybe I wasn't either, but I mean, regardless, the last thing we'll leave this is like, even though that dad was in jail and stuff and, obviously he had a very, devastating ending to his life, at least he passed that message along to his child.
Yeah, this is such a good song. Like I want to just circle it back to the song and the messaging around it. Like it is such a good song because if I think about like what my, life was like and, my going to jail at 16, it was all because of ego. It was because it was actually like a degree of cowardice, right? Because like somebody who's secure in themselves, somebody's like, hey, you little bitch. And I'm like, who cares? You know what I mean? It's when you have that like insecurity in you that you feel like I have to prove myself to this stranger or to this person. It tends to come from a place of insecurity. Obviously like you don't want to let people disrespect you and like threaten you and put you in a bad position. But most of it is just ego in those situations where you could just walk away and be like, why do I care what this fucking nobody says about me?
Why do I need to prove that I'm
so
like
tough, you're nobody to me. Like I'm going to walk out of here and it might bother me a little bit, but you're a nobody in my life. You have no reflection. It's those people who have that insecurity, that cowardice that end up stepping up in that situation. Like you're saying at a baseball game and somebody's like, hey, you bumped into me. Mm-hmm. And it's like, fuck you. It's usually coming from somebody who has this deep insecurity, this cowardice, and then you could have a life-changing moment where somebody ends up dying over a stupid interaction. Whereas sometimes,
nowadays too, like you're fighting somebody and you do the wrong thing and you could get an attempted murder charge like that. And that, I mean, you might not even kill him. You might just think it's just going to be a common brawl. And then it turns out to, a 10-year prison bid. And it's like,
I had a friend who got off on justified homicide because somebody ran up on him and tried to fight him. And he was standing on these like steps, and he was like just sitting down on the steps. This dude tried to fight him, and he just stood up and pushed him. The dude flew backwards, hit his head, and died. And like he got off on it because they were like, well, you were sitting on your porch. This dude tried to fight you on your porch and you pushed him. So they let him off. But that's always stuck in my mind because I'm like, I've been knocked out. Like I got knocked out in a fight and hit my head on a curb. It's like,
and you could have died.
I could have died. So it's like, you think about how just a simple, bad choice in a moment could literally alter your whole life, somebody else's life over what? Because you didn't want to walk away, because you weren't willing to just be like, hey, you know what? You're right. I am a little bitch. Have a great day, sir. But then when it comes down to it, there are certain things that are worth fighting for. Your daughter, my son, my loved ones, shit,
Absolutely.
That's where there's that saying that I'd rather be, what is it? Judged by 12 than carried by 6. In that scenario, if it's like my friends or family or loved ones, and so be it.
Yeah. Definitely. Well, hey, that was a fun video, man. That was just not video, but song. Amazing song. Beautiful message. We loved it. And I hope you guys enjoyed our rant and just us talking about our experiences. And if you had a good time, hit that like button. And if you want more of this type of content, you know what to do. Subscribe, baby. We post every day, and I promise you won't regret it.
That's right. And we will see you on the next one. Peace.